Yuno versus Todoroki. Who would win in a fight? Now, when I was thinking of this idea, I couldn't figure out how could this fight start. So let's just say a portal opened up in one of their respective universes, and they hopped through it and were in that universe. And now the hard part is, which universe should it be? Which universe would they have the higher chance of end up sparring or training together? Now, for this, I would say the My Hero Academia universe, as they do a lot of training activities, being in a hero school, and all of that. But if Todoroki went into the Black Clover universe, there probably wouldn't be that much time to fight each other, as the Black Clover universe is about missions and fighting, and how there's not a lot of time to train or spar with each other. Now, so let's say Yuno hopped through a portal and was in the My Hero Academia universe. His four-leaf clover grimoire is gone, and his wind ability is now a cork. His wind magic is a cork now. So it's arguably less stronger than his wind magic, just to make things a tad bit fair. Now, how would this fight start? They would probably end up meeting each other, and wanting to get stronger, they just ask to spar each other, sensing that their abilities are very strong. Now, let's start off with an obvious thing. Fire is light. You can't pick up fire, at least I don't think you can, and it's pretty much weightless. It's like air. So if wind blows fire, it's going to move. And so if Todoroki decided to use a flame attack on Yuno, Yuno would very, very easily just send it right back at Todoroki with his wind. Now, let's say something like this couldn't happen because they both have no clue what either of their powers are. And since they have no clue what either of their powers are, who's going to strike first? Who do we think could strike first or would strike first in a fight? Now, let's go back to the UA Sports Festival, where we saw Todoroki send massive icebergs as soon as the round started at both Suro and Izuku, striking first instantly. But he knew what their quirks were. But going off of that, let's just say Todoroki used his ice right off the bat, trying to basically surround Yuno in his ice, trying to basically just knock him out from the cold climate inside his iceberg. Now, Yuno, probably not seeing this coming, would get trapped in his ice, or at least I think he would. And now there's two ways this could go. Yuno would get knocked out by this, which I think is some random thing that will not happen, and Yuno, having the drive to fight and win, would of course break out of the ice. Now, it would take a little while for Yuno to fully get knocked out by this ice, but sure, being fully surrounded by the ice almost immediately would basically just have his body go into shock. The massive temperature decrease would cause his body to go in shock, not knowing what was happening. Now, this would cause Yuno to basically not know what to do and start going a little crazy, or basically paranoid. It's like if you're in a dangerous situation and you automatically just freeze up and you don't know what to do. As this is basically what Yuno's doing. If he was able to get over this fact, he would easily be able to break out using his wind. And that's if he was a strong mind and person, which he is. But let's say he wasn't, and he relied on his wind instead of his brain, which is kind of what Asta does, kind of. But let's say Yuno doesn't have this strong of a mind, and he wouldn't get out of this paranoid state. He'd just be stuck. He'd freeze up, no pun intended, and just get stuck there, paranoid, until he would end up passing out, as Todoroki would basically just destroy the iceberg, having won the match. And Yuno would have lost, or if Yuno would have gotten out, it would have been a close fight. Now, Todoroki could probably block Yuno's wind attacks with his ice, as there's almost no villain I have ever seen with wind, but it's kind of like Izuku versus Todoroki. Izuku would use the wind pressure of his flicks to smash Todoroki's ice, but even that kept Izuku away from Todoroki. And since Yuno's magic, or quirk now, is stronger than, let's say, Izuku at 5% flicks, he could break Todoroki's ice, which Todoroki would have to dodge these wind, but the wind would most likely stop after breaking the ice. So it would go almost like the fight against Izuku and Todoroki. However, Yuno having enough of this and Todoroki not wanting to use his fire because it would just get sent right back at him, would end up being knocked out from frostbite, which we saw in the episode against Izuku versus Todoroki right around the time Izuku yelled to use his fire. Now, Yuno would basically win this match, quite obvious. But what would happen if Todoroki went into the Black Clover universe? What would happen then? Now, this is kind of harder to tell, but let's just say on the off chance they were sparring. Now, let's say Yuno has his 4-leaf clover grimoire, of course, like he does in Black Clover, and now Todoroki just happens to be a royal in the newly established Todoroki family. He's a royal now, and he would end up getting a 3-leaf clover grimoire. His magic would be very strong, having been fire and ice magic, and they were put up against each other in a sparring match. Who would win? Both of their powers now increasing from the previous universe they were just in. Now, who would win this fight? To me, I think it would be Yuno again. The fight would almost go just the same, except Yuno would basically just wait for Todoroki to use his ice or fire like he would and see what his powers are. Now, Todoroki, never seeing Yuno in his life, would not know what Yuno's powers was, and Yuno could just blind spot him and just blindside him and easily knock him out. Now that's what I was thinking would happen in the Black Clover universe. Now, Yuno would win both fights in each respected universe, but let's think. Who is arguably stronger? Like I said, Yuno won, but that was in combat. Who has the stronger quirk, magic, whatever? Now, if we compare both universes, now quirks are obviously a step down from magic, as we've seen, if you've ever watched the Black Clover, massive amounts of spells and attacks being used to absolutely destroy many things, while quirks can't really do much. Maybe in the future of the My Hero Academia universe, something like that may happen, but it has not happened yet. So comparing each of them, magic is stronger than quirks. Now, who is stronger in their respective universes? Who is stronger in their universe? Is Todoroki stronger in his universe, or is Yuno stronger in his? Now, this is kind of a confusing part. I'm not quite sure how to word it, but is Yuno the stronger person in his universe? Is he stronger than most people in his universe? And is Todoroki stronger than most people in his universe? Yes and yes. Both Todoroki and Yuno are very, very strong. And that's very evident in how they use their powers. Todoroki being pretty much top of the class in UA of the first years, and Yuno being, I think he might be even the vice captain of the Golden Dawn now. At least I think he is, after reading that or something about it. But he is also very strong in his universe. And if they would go against each other, were people in their universe, if they were to go against different people in their universe, Todoroki would win against most of them, and so would Yuno. They're basically equal if their powers were mixed between their universes. They are very strong in each universe, and that's very clear. And that's why it's kind of hard to explain who would win in a fight against each other. But Yuno, of course, in my honest opinion, would come out on top in victory. I hope you guys did enjoy this Who Would Win video, as basically I'm going to be doing a new thing. I'm going to record these, upload them very, very early before I upload my What Ifs, and these will come out much earlier. I thank you all for watching, and goodbye.